Reading the First Woman Cherokee Chief, Wilma Pearl Mankiller. After the video, stay tuned for reading questions and activity ideas and visit laurenmartinbooks.com for more free learning resources. Please like, share, and subscribe to Lauren Martin Books for more read-along stories. Now let's read the First Woman Cherokee Chief, Wilma Pearl Mankiller. Before European settlers came to America, Cherokee men and women shared the leadership of their nation. Both men and women made tribal rules. Women chose the leaders and could remove bad chiefs. This created a balance. Balance is very important in Native cultures. But white settlers told Native people that only men should be leaders. The power shifted to men for many, many years. Then came Wilma Pearl Mankiller, a Cherokee woman. She thought the chief should be the best person for the job, man or woman. Pearl, the name she went by, was born in Oklahoma in 1945. She lived on Cherokee lands. Some Cherokee families in her neighborhood had more money than hers, but some people struggled to feed their families. Her home had no indoor toilet, no electricity, no running water. Like her 10 siblings, Pearl felt connected to the land, to nature, and to her people. Neighbors helped one another by trading food and supplies. In Cherokee, the idea of everyone helping one another is called gadugi. Pearl helped by doing chores. She and her sister fetched water from a nearby spring. They also tended the vegetable garden. When Pearl was 11, a drought made life even harder. The government started a program that urged Native people to move their families to cities. Government workers put pressure on her dad, Charlie, to move. Charlie wanted to stay on his forefathers' lands. As a boy, he had been forced to go to school far from his family. He never wanted to leave his community again. But he had to provide for his family, so they moved to San Francisco. Pearl hated the city right away. It was loud, cars screeched, sirens wailed. She had to get used to different devices, like telephones and elevators. She only knew country ways. Pearl didn't like her new school either. Kids laughed at her accent and her clothes. They made fun of her last name. Pearl's parents had taught her to be proud of her name. Mankiller came from an old title given to Cherokee people who protected the tribe. Pearl tried to explain, but kids still laughed. Pearl's parents let her live nearby on her grandmother's farm for a year. Pearl loved being close to nature again. After she moved back to the city, Pearl discovered the American Indian Center. There she could be with other Native people from many tribes. They played games and held powwows. Pearl felt more connected to Native cultures. In 1963, Pearl finished high school. By 1966, she was married and had 2 daughters. She also started college. In 1969, Native American students wanted to draw attention to all the Native nations' lands that the U.S. government had stolen. A group of them took control of Alcatraz, an old prison on an island near San Francisco. It was big news. Finally, other people started listening to Native Americans' complaints. They heard how Native people had been stripped of their languages, cultures, and lands. Pearl's brothers and sisters joined the protest. They lived on the island for months. Pearl helped raise money for food and clothes. The protest on Alcatraz lasted 19 months. It began a new era of Native people standing up for their rights. Pearl felt a fire in her spirit. She now knew what she wanted to do: help Native people build better lives. She helped the Pit River tribe fight an energy company over stolen Native land. She founded the Native American Youth Center. She helped pass a law that meant Native children without families could live with other Native families. In 1977, Pearl moved back to Oklahoma. She got a job with the Cherokee Nation. Her daughters loved Cherokee lands, just as she had as a child. One day, while driving to Laqua, the Cherokee Nation's capital, Pearl was in a horrible car crash. It took 17 operations for her to get better. But Pearl never stopped using the idea of gadugi to help solve problems. She visited Cherokee people in Bell, Oklahoma. Few homes had running water. Buildings were falling apart. Pearl listened to people talk about how to make their community better. She raised money for their projects. Neighbors put in water pipes and fixed up houses. Their work was so successful that a film was made about it. In 1983, the chief of the Cherokee Nation asked her to run as his deputy. Some people didn't want a woman deputy chief. They sent hate mail and slashed her car tires, but she won the election. 2 years later, the chief got a new job in Washington, D.C. Pearl filled in as chief. Children were important to her, so she built daycares and schools. In 1987, Pearl ran for chief. Some Cherokees still didn't want a woman leader, but she reminded them how women once had an equal say in running the tribe. And people listened. They elected Pearl the first female chief of the Cherokee Nation, one of the largest tribes in the United States. Pearl was a good chief. She welcomed new businesses. They helped make the tribe more self-supporting. 4 years later, she ran for another term and won again. Pearl encouraged her people to make their communities better. She oversaw projects such as health clinics and a job training center. She served as chief for 10 years. Pearl won many awards. In 1998, President Bill Clinton presented her with the Presidential Medal of Freedom. This is the highest honor the U.S. government can give a non-military person. Today, there are female chiefs in other Native nations. Pearl was an inspiration for them. In celebration of her work, she appears on the 2022 quarter as part of the American Women Coin Series. By the time she died in 2010, Pearl had become a role model. She once said, "I have to do extra well because I am the first woman." And in the many years of helping her people, that's exactly what Wilma Pearl Mankiller did. What was your favorite part of this book? What did Wilma Mankiller do first, next, then, and last? What are the settings of the story? When and where does it take place? Who is in the book? Name the characters and describe their traits. What are the conflicts or problems in the story? How and why does Wilma Pearl Mankiller respond to the problems and solve them? What does Wilma Pearl Mankiller learn throughout her life, and what can you learn from her? What is the lesson or theme? What can you learn from Wilma Pearl Mankiller's story, and how can you apply it to your own life? Write or draw what you can learn from this book, or write or draw about what you would like to do to make a positive change in your community or world. Please like, share, and subscribe to Lauren Martin Books for more read-along stories. Visit Lauren Martin Books for more books and free learning resources. Thank you for reading with me.